Well, news just coming in. France and the United Kingdom, as well as other countries, we understand, have backed permanent membership for India at the United Nations Security Council. Do remember that this has been talked about often, but it hasn't really happened so far. However, countries which support India include, of course, Russia, France and the United Kingdom. Do remember that India has taken over the chairmanship of the Security Council for a month that begins today. We are given to understand is that all these countries have, of course, continued to back India to get a permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council. Earlier also, the G4 countries, that's Brazil, Germany, India and Japan, had supported the bid for India at the UNSC Security Council. Now, of course, there is talk and there has been a demand that the UNSC Security Council be expanded to include other nations as well. Other nations essentially seen as emerging powers. Those, of course, include Brazil, Germany, India and Japan. India and Brazil, of course, have been promoting their applications to join the UN Security Council with Japan and Germany, which is a sign of multipolarity, essentially, and is something that is being backed by other nations as well.
We support new permanent seats for Brazil, Germany, India and Japan, and permanent African representation. We also look forward to the resumption of the General Assembly's intergovernmental negotiations on Security Council reform and hope to see these progress to a text in the new year.
At the outset, I would like to thank India for organizing this open debate, and I'm grateful to the Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, and the President of the General Assembly, Mr. Shaba Qureshi, for their briefings. Allow me to also congratulate you and the Indian mission on a very successful 8th term on the Security Council. Your voice in this chamber is necessary, and the United Arab Emirates reiterates its endorsement of India's bid for permanent membership of a reformed Security Council.
I would like to restate firmly that France is in favour of a reform of the Security Council, as was restated by President Macron at the General Assembly. We support an expansion of the Security Council to take into account the emergence of new powers that have the will and the ability to shoulder the responsibility of a permanent presence on the Security Council. France thus supports the candidacies of Germany, Brazil, India and Japan as permanent members. We also wish to see greater presence from African countries among the permanent members and among the non-permanent members. An expanded council could include as many as 25 members, which would make it more representative of today's world, while at the same time preserving its executive and operational nature.
Well, India, of course, has been pushing for reforms at the UN Security Council for equitable representation for a while now. And in fact, G4 countries that include Germany, Brazil, India and Japan have been asking for these reforms for quite some time. The essence of these reforms is that the world has changed and perhaps it is time for the UNSC to now be expanded to include other powers as well.